In this video, we will demonstrate how to remove and replace the carriage assembly in a legacy RLS library. As you can see in this demonstration, the RLS library has been put on a solid surface. When working on the carriage, it may be simpler to keep the unit in a rack initially to remove a couple of screws that are located on the bottom of the library. You want to go ahead and slide your library. If it is installed in a rack, you want to go ahead and slide your library out slightly so you can have access to the bottom two screws. Now, if the rack that the library is installed in is not sturdy, or you're a little bit concerned about the weight of the library and pulling it out of the rack. Now, if your library is not in a rack or sitting on a table and you need to gain access to those bottom screws, you want to make sure to put it on a flat surface. You want to go ahead and pull the library so that the front edge of the library is hanging over the edge of your surface. And what that will allow you to do is that will allow you to flip the library to its side because the either end of the library is flat. That gives you the easiest access to the screws that you need on the bottom of the library that hold the carriage in place. So once you've pulled the library so that it's hanging over the front edge, you want to just go ahead and flip the library on its side. Now, because of the weight of the library, it's recommended or it's advised that you go ahead and probably ask someone to help you. And with two people flipping it to its side, it's a pretty simple task. Once you have the unit on its side, you want to go ahead and remove two screws. The two screws that we're going to remove keep the carriage attached to the library. So you want to go ahead, and you'll notice that there's two screws down here and there's two screws up here. To remove the carriage properly, on the downside or on the left side of the library, you want to remove the screw in front. And on the upper side, there's two screws here. You want to remove the screw in back. Now these two screws, once again, hold the carriage assembly to the frame of the library. Now, once those two screws have been removed, you want to go ahead and place the library back on you want to go ahead and flip it back onto its proper position. Once the library has been placed back on its feet, you want to go ahead and remove the four screws that keep the top cover attached to the library. Now, for this demonstration, these screws have already been removed. So once the screws to keep the side cover down have been removed, you want to go ahead and lift up the side cover of the library, or the top cover of the library. With the top cover of the library in the open position, you can see the carriage here. This is the carriage assembly. Now you see that there's four holes here. You can go ahead and insert your fingers into these holes, and you should be able to slide the carriage straight out of the library. Now, be careful. You want to do it slowly. You don't want to just go ahead and pull it out completely, because there is a cable connected between the library and the carriage assembly. So what's recommended is you go ahead and pull the carriage out until you can go ahead and then angle it so that it can rest on the library. Once you have the carriage resting on top of the library, you can go ahead and open the door of the library. You can, the library latches located here, you can just go ahead and manually flip it. That will open the door for you. And with the front door open, you can kind of look inside and you can see the cable that's connected to the bottom of the carriage assembly. You want to just go ahead, and there's two clips. You just want to go ahead and loosen the clips, remove the cable. Once the cable is removed, the carriage can be removed from the library. So to install a replacement carriage into the library, you want to go ahead and have the top cover of the library open, and you want the front door of the library open as well. You want to go ahead and get your carriage assembly, replacement carriage assembly, and you want to go ahead and position it so that it's kind of slightly angled so that it's resting on the frame of the library. You want to take the cable that connects the library to the carriage, and then you want to go ahead and lug through the opening of the front door and connect this carriage cable to the carriage assembly. When installing the cable, you want to make sure you hear it click into position. Once the carriage cable has been connected, you want to go ahead and insert your fingers into the 4 holes, and then align the library. Align the carriage assembly into the library, and then you just want to go ahead and slide it down slowly. Now there are bullet holes that kind of position the library, so the carriage can only go in one way. So you just want to make sure that it's completely flat. Once it's completely flat, you know it's in the proper position. Once you've settled it down into the proper position, you want to go ahead and lower the top cover of the library. And then you want to go ahead and apply the screws to keep the top cover. You want to go ahead and close the top cover, and then you want to go ahead and reapply the screws to keep the top cover down. Then you can go ahead and close the front door. Once you put the carriage back into the library, you want to go ahead and either flip the library on its side, because you need access to the bottom of the library, or if it's in a rack, you want to just go ahead and pull it out slightly so that you can see the bottom of the library. Now, the 2 screws you're going to go ahead and use, you're going to use the upper screw, or the taller screw is going to go into the right side of the library. And you just go ahead and screw that down. And then the shorter screw goes down here to position in front of the library. Once both screws have been applied to the library, this carriage is now secured. You can go ahead and put the library back into its rack, or put it back on its feet. Now, after you've completed installing the carriage assembly into the library, you can go ahead and power the library on and test it out, make sure that it works. You may or may not need a calibration of the library. In some instances, the carriages don't need to be calibrated. So what we would always recommend is after the replacement of the carriage, just go ahead and test it out and see if the library runs properly. If everything runs smoothly, you're set to go. If you encounter any type of hammer faults or any type of difficulties, go ahead and recalibrate the library.